Ed, what in your mind are the key steps for growing a social business?
I think the first step, there's probably four. The first step is to understand how to build a culture of being a social business. It's not just about tools. The second is probably to understand what tools are needed or available. The third is to really recognize where those tools can be applied to an engagement model. And then the fourth is to understand how all of this benefits your organization. Obviously, there's got to be a payback and a return, something measurable that people can point to at the end of the day. So the first step is really the cultural change, and that's, I think, where most organizations today really have to think about what it means for them to be a social business. There's a lot of organizations where the idea of the knowledge that I have in my head is actually what makes me unique to the organization, and I want to protect that, and I want to make sure that's the currency that I have that I bring to the organization. But in a social business, it's how do I advertise that? How do I make sure that people inside the organization know my expertise? How do I make sure the market knows my expertise and that we're demonstrating this organization has this knowledge and this ability to innovate and engage and work with customers? So in a lot of organizations, that's a big change. At IBM, we wrote a set of social computing guidelines in 2005, which were empowering documents that told our employees, we want you to do this. It was unusual for us to write a policy guideline that said, do something as opposed to don't do something. So that's one. Two is have the right tools or adopt the right tools. There's lots of tools from us or other vendors in the market that will help in implementing sort of business quality versions of microblogging and wikis and all the sort of tools, communities and discussion forums, the tools that people are used to in thinking about social media. But in a social business, you have to sort of apply those in an industrial grade way. The thing we see as the equilibrium point in many organizations is the employee profile as the sort of center of gravity for a social business. How do I know what the person knows, what interests they have, what projects they've worked on, who they've worked for, what customers they work with? All of that is human-generated knowledge. It's not name, rank, and serial number. And so that sort of then becomes the sort of balancing point. Then it's a matter of how do we engage not just within the four walls of the organization, which is the big transformative basis of social business, but even how do I engage outside as well? How am I going to bring the ideas for my customers in and act on them faster? How am I going to make sure we're providing the best possible customer service and feedback to the market? How are we, making sure that we have the right people connected within the organization? So there's this element of bringing into the people into the wisdom of the crowd's notion that's been kind of part of social media for so long. And then the fourth is figure out what your results are. At IBM, we measured our inside salespeople, and we said, here's a group of salespeople that have chosen to be engaged in social business. They publish information to their customers. They reach our internal experts as they need them. Are they doing any better? And we actually found that they were doing 7 or 8% better at closing deals than the non-digital salespeople. So we know that there's a quantifiable ROI of becoming a social business because we're moving deals faster through the pipeline and we're getting better results.